Hello, I am That Rob Human. I'm going to be showing you why and how I am going to rewrite a not insignificant chunk of my application due to anchor positioning. First, to establish context here, this is a node graph interface thing that lets me create geometric art, like so, or like so, or like so, that I then export to SVG or PNG to essentially use very angry photons to throw at wood with, like so. So, what does that have to do with anchor positioning? So because this is a node graph interface thing, one of the things that I implemented here is this light gray bounding box around, the encompassing all the nodes on the graph. Not only is this just for aesthetics, but it's also a good navigational aid in this kind of freeform canvas layout thing. And what I mean is, if I actually drag the canvas off, you'll get this red line saying, hey, you're out of bounds here. This is the direction that the canvas is. And if I make this, bigger, it actually alerts you that it's off screen whenever like 50% of a given axis is off screen. Now, currently, I'm doing this by essentially redrawing this bounding box every time a node moves or the canvas moves. And as you can imagine, that's not ideal. And this is where anchor positioning is saving my hide. And to show you how, this is a code pen, and the link will be in the description, that is basically a bare bones reproduction of this. So I'm going to add a node, and in fact I'll add another one here. You can see that we've got a bounding box that surrounds all the nodes on the screen. And this isn't drawn per event. This is drawn using anchor positioning. And the way I do that is essentially, whenever I click this add node button here, this function creates and establishes and updates the nodes. So first, I've got a registry that basically just keeps track of which nodes still exist. I'm not deleting any in this, but if you were, you could just slice out the nodes that you're deleting. But in this case, I'm just appending the array with the next number. And that's used to generate a unique anchor name later on. We'll get to that. So, I build the new node the hard way, and I set up event listeners for the mouse, and this is to basically make it so that you can move it when you grab the title, click and drag on the title and it moves the node around. That's all this does here. But down here, you'll see that I've got a anchor name where I actually give it a unique anchor name based on that ID. And then I go to this bounding box element, which is this one, and I basically do a giant calc that takes the minimum of all the anchors in the registry and a direction. So like on the the style top, it's give me the minimum of all the anchors referenced by top, and then take off 20 pixels, and that's how you get the top of the bounding box. Do that for all 4 directions, and it just kind of takes care of itself. Now, unlike with where I had to redraw the bounding box on every move, the only time I'm redoing this list is when I add or remove a node. So it, like I said, it just kind of sorts itself out. The rest of this is how I do the intersection stuff, and I'm going to level with you. I'm actually kind of cheating because I couldn't get the intersection observer to work, and I couldn't be arsed. But I'm doing this the bad way. But basically, I just, whenever I'm panning with the middle mouse button, I'm just checking to see if, the bounding box is halfway out of the viewport, and if it is, color the, set the border color. It's essentially all this is doing. And also some resize observers to make sure that, it updates correctly when you resize the thing. The proper way would be to use two intersection observers. One that is like has a margin of like plus 5,000% top and bottom, and one that is plus 5,000 or something percent left and right, so that you could get intersections here, here, but also here. You can't do that like with a single intersection observer. You kind of have to set up this cross shape. But like I said, I couldn't get it to work. I think it has something to do with the fact that the bounding box is not the direct descendant of the wrapper. Whatever the case may be, I'm sure people who are smarter than me could figure it out. So that's basically how this works. There's really not much to it. Like I said, the CodePen is in the description, as is a link to the app itself if you fancy giving that a go. Oh, before I forget, there are two things here. One, there is a thread in the CSS working group that talks about the get bounding client rect. If you get bounding client rect on an element that is display contents, you get an empty rectangle, 0 width, 0 height. In that thread, they talk about wanting to change that so that it basically returns a bounding box that encompasses all the children of display contents. And I'm all for that. But in that very same thread, I actually mentioned, hey, if this is a thing, and given the reasons that you want to do it, what about anchor positioning here? And I posited that, if we're going to do that, we should do it for anchor positioning. And here's why. If I had that capability, I could actually not have to do all of this like tracking the child nodes. I could just point it to a display contents parent of all the nodes, and it would just kind of land correctly. It'd be wonderful. The other thing is that these lines I'm actually drawing in an SVG on the fly, and they're recalculated every time a node moves. And I would love to use anchor position inside of the new shape function. That would be fantastic. Just throwing that out there so that people hear about that. Anyways, if you want to play around with the application itself, link is in the description, as is the CodePen. And if you want a bit of a tour of what the application does, like how I've actually made these things, I would be more than willing to subject you to that, should you wish to have that suffering. Just let me know. Anyways, have fun. Thanks. Bye.